You can have an entire week of your negative thoughts and still not have an effect on your manifestation when you use this technique. I'm gonna be really real. For me, darkness, depression, anxiety were all the result of the various traumas and experiences I had growing up. But because I didn't know how to navigate that, a lot of my life I would dip really low. Then I would have these highs, but the lows were really, really low. In fact, when I was learning how to shift realities, there were two powerful things that I learned that made all the difference for me. One was that life was about perception. The second is that thoughts create. And I thought to myself, if that is true, what would happen if I intentionally used the power of my thoughts, the power of perception to create new realities? And in my process of shifting my life dramatically, I saw the power of how thoughts created new reality, brought money into my life, brought work that I enjoy, built a community of like-minded people, and so much more. I want to teach you today the most effective way to process your negative thoughts so that they can come and they can go without having an implication on what you want to manifest. In our human evolution, it is easy for our brains to go towards the negative thought. It used to be a form of our protection. It served us as one point in our humanity to think about what pending dangers there might be. Unfortunately, that part of us, the negativity bias, has still remained for many of us when we no longer need it. And because where we focus, we go. If we continuously have these negative thoughts, we create the very reality that we do not desire. So it doesn't matter what you write, it doesn't matter what you say. If you're being consistent on having negative thoughts, that will be the direction you go. My name is Giselle Baumet, and I'm here to teach you everything that I know about shifting realities. And if you haven't yet subscribed, it would mean so much to me if you hit the subscribe button. Feel free to also comment in any of my videos about what you desire to learn. But no matter where you are in your journey, it doesn't mean that you will not have negative thoughts. It's the consistency of those negative thoughts that will shift your reality. The good news is that you are able to navigate negative thoughts, to be able to let them flow and not have an effect on your manifestation. In fact, you can have a whole day of negative thoughts and still not have an effect on your manifestations. Just that alone, just realizing that you will have negative thoughts and being in acceptance of that, not fighting it, not looking at it as something bad, just accepting that you are going to have negative thoughts. That is part of your human experience. That alone is half of this technique, is acceptance of your thoughts. That is so different than when you're fighting your thoughts or you're beating yourself down because you happen to have negative thoughts. Second half is simply not resisting your negative thoughts. You're no longer resisting them. You're not going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps to try and get rid of your negative thoughts. You're no longer going to resist them. You're not going to fight them. You're going to be in full acceptance that they are part of your human experience. And then secondly, you're going to release resistance. And what that means is you're going to just allow them to be without embodying them. Think of your negative thoughts as if there was a cloud over your head and you're thinking about this negative thought and it's right above your head. You're going to just observe it. You're just going to be like, oh, there you are. That's there. Just look at it. I'm not going to bring that cloud in and then bring it into my heart space and then embody that thought and then add more thoughts in addition to it. That's where we go wrong when it comes to manifestation, because then we feel it in our bodies, we bring it, we amplify it, we elevate it, and then it produces more and more of the same thoughts. Instead, you're going to just observe it. It's a cloud over my head. There it is. Observe it. You can even express what the thought is. Narrate it. You're the third party observing yourself having this thought. you're not fighting it. That is really important. You're not trying to make it go away. You're not fighting it. You're simply observing it. After you see it, then you'll just let that thought continue by. Again, I did not embody it. I just observed it and let it flow. And it will flow, just like a cloud over your head. It'll flow over to the other side. Maybe a similar thought comes right over again, and you think about it. I'm not going to resist it. I'm not going to fight it. I'm not going to do a bunch of things to make it go away. I will simply observe it. I'm currently having a thought that my manifestations aren't going to come true, that is never going to happen for me. And that is the thought that I'm currently having. I will not attach myself while I'm doing this process. I also will not fight it. I will just accept it. I will repeat that process for any other thought, because depending on how often you've had these negative thoughts, you might be conditioned to keep bringing in more and more negative thoughts. Keep observing, accept each one, observe each one, don't resist it, and then let it flow through. It might take you a couple minutes to do that. It might take you an hour. It really depends on how much time you have been spending resisting your negative thoughts, fighting them, trying really hard to make them go away, and they kept coming in, and maybe you embodied them. Like, it all depends. And believe me, I've done that before too. But we're just accepting and not resisting. When we're done with that process, we're going to choose another thought. We will intentionally bring in a thought that we do want to embody. So let's say my negative thought has been, it's never going to work out. It's not going to happen for me. I mean, look, there's all these things happening, which means that my manifestation is not going to come through. I will accept it. Oh, I just had that thought. I'm not going to fight it. That was the thought that came in. I'm just going to observe it. Oh, it's there, like a cloud over my head. There it is. And then I will choose another thought. I might have a thought of, but what if it all works out? What if everything that's happening right now in my current reality is all temporary? What if I don't give up and I keep going, I succeed? What if later I look back and I say to myself, wow, it all happened for me right before I thought I would quit? And those intentional thoughts will now shift your energy and your vibration towards the direction that you want to go. A thought is just a thought. We're accepting it. We're not resisting it. Some of them, we're just going to let them go by. Those are our negative thoughts. We're not going to give them so much focus, but we're just not fighting them. They just are. Give them their space for that moment. We're going to notice them. There they are. It's just a thought. And then we're going to intentionally bring in a new thought, and we're going to keep adding to that thought. We're going to create a narrative around that new thought that we intentionally want to focus on. You don't need a journal for this. You don't need some special manifestation technique for this. You don't need to go anywhere for this. This all happens in your mind. The power is within you. As you practice this technique, you will find that you're no longer fighting your negative thoughts. They're just not a burden anymore. You're just accepting, and then you're releasing any resistance to them. In many, many ways, you're lightening the weight that you had put on every single one of your negative thoughts. It was too heavy. Now they're light. You will create new pathways of thinking. You are majestic. You are so much more powerful than you realize. And this will bring you closer to remembering who you really are. As Buddha said, the mind is everything. What you think, you become.